Recently, I've been able to not take a single bad order, and I've only been delivering orders that look like this. So in this video, I'm going to be showing you guys how to do that as well, and how by using this strategy, you should be able to make an easy $200 a day. What's up, guys? My name is Blake Moore. Welcome to More Driven. I've been doing gig work for 6 years now, and on this channel, I just try and give you guys the best tips that I've learned throughout my journey, and also show you guys the new things that I'm figuring out as I continue to do gig work. So if you find this video helpful, make sure you subscribe, and let's get into this strategy. So what this strategy is maximizing for is higher order pay with the lowest mileage possible. That's kind of what this whole multi-apping strategy is focused around. And I actually stumbled across this about a week ago when I was doing Uber Eats and Instacart combined. And I realized that if I was cherry picking very heavily, then my hourly pay didn't really dip at all, but the miles I was driving did significantly. And so I'm just going to take you through, starting with the beginning of my shift. So basically what I do is I don't even worry about turning on DoorDash. I just have Uber Eats running while also turning on Instacart. And I do that first and foremost when I'm at my apartment. I just turn it on maybe like 30 minutes before I'm planning on leaving. This is while I'm just getting my stuff ready, maybe grabbing some snacks to bring with me on the road or different things like that. And the reason I turn it on before I even go out is because I actually live right next to a grocery store. And so sometimes I get really good Instacart orders that are super low mileage that I can just get while I'm chilling at my apartment. So that's one reason. And then another reason is because you never know what Uber Eats is going to send your way. So you could be gathering your stuff together and Uber Eats might send you a $10 for 3-mile order or something like that, depending on where you're located and how close you are to the nearest restaurant. I live right next to a Subway and also a pizza place. So sometimes I get orders from there while I'm just getting my stuff together. So because you're trying to cherry pick the best orders possible, then I found it's just best to turn it on because you might get something really good and then you can just hurry, grab your stuff and go and get that order done. And you're starting off with a really great dollar per mile ratio order. So after I do that, if I don't end up getting an order, then I just head to the nearest kind of restaurant hub. And so for this, I don't go to like the hot spots that would normally be on, let's say, DoorDash or even some of the spots that they show on Uber Eats. I actually go to just the best place that has a big grocery store like Smith's and also a bunch of restaurants surrounding it. That way, I'm in the best possible spot to get the best orders off of Uber Eats and Instacart. Now, at this point, you might be wondering, why am I not turning on my DoorDash app? Well, the reason behind that is because with DoorDash, it's very difficult to multi-app. And I'll go through some reasons as to why that is. Now, there is a time and a place for DoorDash, but when you're trying to do this specific strategy, I only use them very, very minimally. And so with this strategy, the reason I like Uber Eats and Instacart together is because with Uber Eats and Instacart, there is no zones. With DoorDash, there are zones, and there are sometimes really great orders that might take you out of your zone. Let's say a $20 for 10-mile order or something like that. But with DoorDash, the only way you can pull this off and accept orders like that while you're multi-apping is if you're a top dasher. Because if you're not a top dasher, then when you go out of your zone, you're going to have to drive back into your zone. And I don't like that because I like to just stay parked right after I drop off an order using this method. And so because if you're going to use DoorDash and you want to switch over to that zone when you get an order that takes you out of your zone, then you're going to have to be a top dasher. Otherwise, the majority of the time when you go to switch zones, there's not a shift available. So you have to maintain that 70% acceptance rate, which really hinders this entire method, because with this strategy, you are really wanting to prioritize really high payout with low miles. I'm talking like at least $2 per mile orders at a minimum. And another thing with DoorDash that I really don't like that's different from the other apps is that you can't go out whenever you want. You have to maintain that 70% acceptance rate if you want to be a top dasher and be able to dash whenever you want. With all the other apps that I'm using in this multi-apping strategy, I'm able to have as low of an acceptance rate as I want, and I can still go out any time of the day or any time of the week that I want without scheduling anything. And so that is why I really only use DoorDash maybe in the evening time sometimes, but it's really the least app that I like to use when I'm doing this multi-apping strategy. So after I drive over to the area where there's a grocery store and also a bunch of neighboring restaurants, then I just wait for the best possible offers. I probably decline like 4 to 10 orders off of Uber Eats sometimes in a row, just waiting for an order that looks similar to this, where it's really high payout for really low miles. So the sweet spot is anything above $2 per mile is what I'll accept. And so sometimes while I'm waiting for an Uber Eats, I don't get anything good, but then I get a really, really good Instacart batch that's say like $45 for 15 miles. That would still fall into that perfect dollar per mile ratio. And so I would end up taking that. So let's take that scenario for instance. I'd take that really big Instacart batch. So while I'm doing the Instacart batch, I will leave Uber Eats on because you never know what Uber Eats is going to send you. I've seen over $30 orders for just 2 miles. So this is really where you can make the most bang for your buck. Is I'm doing the Instacart order, say it maybe takes me 45 minutes to shop for it. And so during that 45 minutes, I am waiting and waiting for an extremely great Uber Eats order. It has to kind of follow the same path as the Instacart batch that I'm doing. So that way, after I'm done shopping, I can hurry pick up the Uber Eats order and then drop them all off at the same time. And then sometimes you end up making $50 that hour, or sometimes I've even had $70 hours. But with this strategy, there are going to be long wait times in between orders sometimes, where maybe for 40 minutes, you don't get anything good, or you don't get anything that necessarily falls into this specific strategy. I actually do that on purpose now because while I'm waiting, I like to be working on something. I used to hate long wait times in between orders, but now with this new method that I've kind of been trying out, it's made it super easy for me to get work done while I'm waiting in between orders. So what I do is I just bring my laptop with me and I'll get that really great Uber Eats order done or that really great Instacart batch done. And then I just drive like a mile. I really don't like to go more than a mile or two into another great little hub where there's maybe a grocery store and a couple of restaurants. And then I just park there and wait as long as I need to until the next great orders come in. And while I'm waiting, I just pull out my laptop from my backpack and I'm working on stuff, whether that's editing or whether that's another business venture that I'm trying to start in the next upcoming months, or just all sorts of things. There's a ton of different remote jobs that you can do while you're waiting and make money while you're waiting. And I'll make a video on what some of these remote jobs are that you can do while you're waiting, but that'll be for another video so that I can really do a deep dive on some of those for you guys. But that video is coming, so make sure you guys stay tuned. But then, yeah, it's just a waiting game until you get the next really great order. And so what I found from doing this is that I can make $200 a day still in about an 8 to 10 hour period of actually being out on the road. Even though I'm parked for the majority of that time, I can make about $200 in that time. But the time that I'm actually doing orders is really only about 5 hours. I've noticed that I usually am waiting for 3 hours. So really doing other work on my laptop and on my phone for those 3 hours that I'm waiting. So really, it's like I'm making $200 in just 5 hours of Uber Eats and Instacart. And so that's what I really love about this, is because I might only put 100 miles or less on my car throughout the day, and I'm still making that $200. Where if I was doing DoorDash and maybe Uber Eats, then the miles I would put on to make $200 is probably about 180. And if I was doing rideshare, I could make $200 in about 6 to 8 hours, but I'd be going nonstop and I'd probably end up putting like 250 miles on my car, which really, really lessens the amount of profit that you're getting. So that is why I think this is the best strategy that you can possibly do when it comes to gig work. Now, obviously, I know this is not the case for everyone. Not everyone has remote work that you can do. So if that's the case, then I've actually incorporated Lyft into this as well. So when I incorporate Lyft, this is what I do. I do that exact same thing where I park and wait. I just take the best Uber Eats and Instacart batches. And then with adding in Lyft, it's really great because once again, there's no zones tied to it. And with Lyft, there's not really a way to cherry pick orders. The way I do it is I just don't take anything that's more than a couple of miles because I don't want to drive too far away and then at the end of my shift I have to drive back really far. So while I'm sitting there waiting, if I don't have any more work to do on my laptop, then that's where Lyft comes in, and I have that running at the same time. So then I can do short Lyft rides in between those really big orders, but I'm leaving Uber Eats and Instacart on the whole time I'm doing the Lyft rides. So that way I just stay within like a couple mile radius, and those Uber Eats and Instacart batches are still just funneling in, and I'm just declining the ones that aren't any good. And then usually eventually I'll get a really great Uber Eats order, and I'll have like 2 minutes left on a ride for this passenger. So as I'm dropping off the passenger, I just hurry and accept the Uber Eats order while I'm driving the passenger, and then drop them off real quick, head over and pick up the Uber Eats order. It's really not that difficult once you practice. You got to get a couple hours, a couple days under your belt of doing it, and then you'll really get the hang of it. So now that we have like the good foundation of the strategy, I just wanted to give you guys one more little tip of what times of day are the best times to do this. So what I like to do is I like to start at 7 in the morning, and that's because that's when Instacart is usually pretty busy, and there are usually some pretty good Uber Eats breakfast orders as well. So going out before that, it's not really beneficial unless you're doing rideshare, which with this strategy, you're not really focusing on rideshare that much. So I like to start at 7 in the morning. That's when the grocery stores open. Instacart's usually pretty busy, and that's when a lot of restaurants open as well for Uber Eats. And then I like to just go until it kind of dies out a little bit. So I'll go for like 2.5 hours, just go from 7 to 9:30. And usually I don't have much dead time in that time span. And so it's not much remote work. I'm mostly doing Uber Eats and Instacart orders. And then I'll take a long break from about 9:30 to maybe 3 o'clock, maybe 4 o'clock in the afternoon. And then I found that the best time to do this is from 4 to about 10:30 or 11 o'clock at night. And that way you get in a nice 9 to 10 hours while you're actually out on the road. And the time that you're actually spending doing gig work, it should only be about 5 hours, and you should be able to hit $500 using this multi-apping strategy. So hopefully you guys learned something from this. Hopefully you can take it and start making more money. And also, if you enjoyed this video, make sure you subscribe. Thank you so much for watching. Leave your comments down below. I think if we can all just pool our knowledge together, then that's going to work out the best for everyone. So if I left something out, or you think that I could do something a little bit better, let me know down in the comments, because I'd love to hear it. And I'm sure there's other people out there who go through, read the comments, and who can take a little something from some of the more experienced drivers out there. But yeah, thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.